name is Robin Eckersley, and I'm so thrilled to be coming to you. I'm coming to you remotely. I live just outside of Denver, Colorado.
Hi,
Linda,
Robin.
this
How
is
are you? Nice to see you.
I'm
Looking gorgeous.
oh, thank you. You too. You too.
Thank you. So, yes, Robin, thank you so much for joining us for today WIN Conferences event. So, before we start the session, we will share a beautiful presentation. I mean, beautiful introduction video of yours. So, later you can start your presentation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Life expansion coach, international speaker, and domestic violence survivor Robin Eckersley is passionate about her mission of helping women not only see themselves as more than they ever have before, but as well as co-creating self-empowering beliefs and behaviors to allow them to step into the expanded, authentic, thriving versions of themselves. She designed her signature total life expansion method as a simple yet transformative tool that can be used by anyone, and her evolving body of work is influenced by both her previous career as a tech industry project manager as well as the personal transformation philosophies she herself remains immersed in.
Yes, Robin, you can start your presentation. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much. Oh, that was so delightful, that introduction. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. For those of you just joining, my name is Robin Eckersley. I'm a life expansion coach, and I am so thrilled to be bringing the topic of making self-empowerment accessible in today's burnout culture. So I'm going to speak, I'm going to keep it around 20 minutes, and then I'll leave about 10 minutes for questions. If you have questions in the meantime, you are welcome to put them in the chat. And if they're in line with kind of what we're talking about, then I'll answer them there. And if not, then I'll just get to them at the end. So thank you so much for being here. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I think you can see both me as well as my slides here. Okay, so yes, like I said, the title of my talk today is Making Self-Empowerment Accessible in Today's Burnout Culture. Um, I have two goals for us today collectively. The first is to facilitate a deeper understanding of what it means to thrive. So you won't hear me talking about how can we beat burnout. Beating burnout is such a common phraseology today. It's such, be us versus burnout. It's such a common concept today. What I'm going to focus on today is how do we understand what it looks like for each of us to thrive, both collectively as a society and individually. My second goal for today is to teach you how and when to use the method that beautiful introductory video mentioned, my 3-step total life expansion method of self-empowerment, so that you can take it from today and start using it right away in your big decisions in life and in your micro moments throughout your day. So we're going with these two goals today so that you will be able to start creating a different, healthier relationship with stress, your responsibilities, and your everyday life while simultaneously exploring what it would look like to truly thrive. Now, like I said before, I tend to not focus on, in the work that I do with my clients, I don't focus on avoiding undesirable outcomes, like avoiding burnout. We like to focus our work on creating the desirable outcomes. So instead of avoiding the negative outcomes, we go for the desirable outcomes instead, so that the things that we don't want, like burnout, they actually become obsolete along the way. It's a natural side effect of going for the things that we do want. So today we're going to be focusing on making self-empowerment accessible so that we can thrive. Now, here's a little bit about me so that you know exactly who's talking to you through the screen. In the title slide, you would have seen some letters after my name. You would have seen CPC and ELIMP. CPC is Certified Professional Coach. I was trained and certified in 2016, well, between 2015 and 2016, which is when I opened my practice. ELIMP is Energy Leadership Index Master Practitioner. So energy leadership is a school of coaching that I was trained in. And I've definitely since then been trained in other areas as well, but I've achieved a master practitioner certification in this particular practice. 3 things about me is that I love to play. I love to keep things fun and light whenever possible. So many times the world of personal development, professional development, life transformation, it feels heavy. It feels like a lot of work, like we have to overcome these big things. And, I'm about making things fun and lighthearted. Life is about thriving and about playing and about stepping into the best version of you. And that doesn't have to be heavy. It doesn't have to be difficult, a thing you have to do. So whenever we can, let's get playful. Another thing about me is that I'm completely obsessed with the skill of visioning, which I will be talking about, but just in a nutshell, it's deciding and exploring what is it that really brings you alive? What do you love? And what makes life really delicious for you? I'm also on a different level. I'm very, very, very in love with cats, with all things Disney and Pixar, and with fitness. I'll explain a little bit more about that whole fitness thing a little bit later. Also, I'm a former project manager for geospatial applications, a company that was a government contractor in my first career. And we did a lot of disaster relief work. And then I was also a project manager for projects involving open source technology and making the web more accessible and more equitable. These days, in my work as a life expansion coach, like I said, since 2016, I help sharp, driven women who have started to feel really disconnected and uninspired at work. I help them to design their next professional chapter so that they're feeling energized and engaged and purposeful about their work. They feel really aligned with who it is they're serving, and that they personally, they are thriving. They're living a life in and out of the office that they absolutely love. So the whole fitness aspect, next quarter, I'm actually launching a program designed specifically for female professional athletes who are transitioning their careers. So all the work I've been doing with my one-on-one clients through the years, I've been compiling all those teachings and distilling them into a program specifically geared for professional athletes who are transitioning away from that career into their next career, whatever that looks like for them. So, I really don't have to tell you, if you're a part of this talk, that life these days is ever increasing its pace. We're getting faster and faster with the greater access to technology, to one another. Life is just a very, very fast pace, and it's not slowing down anytime soon. Our ongoing demands and responsibilities, aka the needs of others, always going to be there. They're not going away, and for a lot of us, they're actually increasing. So things like as soon as you wake up, we have emails, we have demands, we have deadlines, all these tasks that we have to do for other people. The more advanced we become in our careers, the more requests there are for our time, for our input, and for our expertise. Also, we start to deprioritize our own cultivation. The messaging is around that our growth is going to be on our own time. If you want to develop yourself, that's got to be on your own time. But we need your resources, your time, your money, your energy, and attention. We need all that for us right now. That's essentially the messaging that we're saturated with these days. And then cultural expectations. When I say cultural, I'm talking about hustle culture. I'm talking about the culture of this expectation to have it all and to do it all and to be it all. And so in order for us to fulfill those requirements that are being put upon us and that are really popular these days, it's about expending our resources more and more and more in that fast-paced life. So, that's no surprise that things like burnout, especially for women, rates of burnout are increasing. This is a poll from Gallup. I have a couple of different points of data here, but because of time, I'm not going to go too deep into it. I want to save most of my time for the teaching part. This is basically to illustrate, yes, burnout is a real thing. And what we're talking about is essentially people who are at risk of burnout, who are experiencing burnout, are 2.6 times more likely to go to the emergency room. This is not just to call out sick or to have worse health in a lighthearted way. I'm talking about going to the emergency room with very serious health challenges. So this is much bigger than just your teammate missing a meeting or your employee calling out for a day of work. It increased, absolutely. It increased during the pandemic of 2020. And of course, we are still experiencing the effects of pandemic. What's interesting is that this top line here is women's rates of burnout. Female employees, it increased from 30% to 34% and has remained at 34% through 2021. We're still waiting for the data from 2022. But what's interesting is that for men, their male counterparts, it actually went down in 2020 and then rose a bit in 2021. But there's still a gap there between men and women. There are factors, of course, that are outside of what's happening individually with us, like women who spend part of their week working remotely as a hybrid versus some days in the office and some days at home. They're at a much higher burnout risk, which is 38% in 2021, than women who work exclusively from home or exclusively on site, which is quite interesting. In contrast, burnout around men is actually unrelated to what their remote work arrangement is. Burnout tends to be higher in individual contributors and project managers, and not as high in the managerial roles, which is quite interesting. So there's lots of external factors, and echoing what I said in the beginning, today we're less about the why and the external things that are affecting our stress levels, and we're more about what can we as individuals do to empower ourselves. We cannot be sitting around waiting for society and business structures and organizational norms to change, and we're just going to sit back and be at the effects of it. We're here to take ownership over what can I do as an individual to change my experience of life. This is a graph from the American Psychological Association that illustrates that even the experts who are treating burnout are not immune to burnout. They themselves are experiencing an increased workload, and they're reporting that they're not being able to meet the demand for the treatment for their patients, which went from 30% in 2020 up to 46% in 2022. The differentiator with the psychologists here is that they are more likely to practice what they preach, essentially, to practice self-care, to reach out for support, to get help where they can. But the bottom line is that even though they are taking ownership over what they can do, burnout is absolutely across the board an aspect of the modern day workplace. So what are we going to do about it, right? Coming back to today's two goals, let's start first with the goal of facilitating a deeper understanding of what it means to thrive, both collectively and individually. So thriving, obviously, we always start with a definition here, and it's characterized by a couple of different aspects: to grow vigorously, i.e. flourishing, and to gain in wealth or possessions. Quite interesting, right? Prosperity here. It's also to progress toward or realize a goal despite or because of circumstances. So in our discussion today, we're going to be setting our sights not on just scraping by and battling burnout and just feeling a little bit less burned out this week than we did last week. We are actually setting our sights on a totally different destination. We are raising the bar and saying, no, I'm not engaging with fighting burnout. I'm on my way to a higher path here. So we are setting our sights on thriving, and that on the way to thriving, as we progress in our own journeys to thriving, beating burnout becomes just a natural side effect of the ways that we are thinking and making decisions and living in pursuit of thriving. So now we're not focusing our attention and resources on combating burnout. We are now saying, okay, yes, burnout is a problem and it will be dealt with, but we're going to deal with it in a way that we come out way better, way more successful, way more alive than I just don't feel burned out this week. So as we go through the next couple of slides, I would love for you to think about what these concepts of thriving, of prosperity, of flourishing, what would that look like in your own work and in your own life? So let's dig a little bit into prosperity. Prospering was an aspect of the concept of thriving And this is focusing on succeeding in an enterprise or activity, especially to achieve economic success here. So becoming strong and flourishing here. So think about prospering. What does prospering look like in your work? Is it happening right now? Is it happening in your personal life? What does prosperity look like to you personally? Something that I love seeing is that the conversation around thriving is becoming more commonplace. Ariana Huffington just published a book called Thrive, and she's exploring thriving not just in a sense of flourishing and growing and prosperity in an economic sense, but she's talking about well-being in 4 different areas: psychological, physical, emotional, and social. This, I encourage you to go ahead and pick up a copy of this if this is an interesting topic to you. Um, the next thing that I love seeing is that now we're moving also into a deeper exploration of what it means to flourish. If flourishing is going to be an attribute of thriving, let's take a look at what Harvard is up to. The acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT method, is a method of psychotherapy that attempts to increase emotional openness and mindful, non-judgmental awareness of thoughts. Essentially, what they have done is they have created 14 different aspects of thriving. So 3 different categories: emotional, psychological, social. So similar to what Ariane Huffington is discussing here in her book, but they're really taking it into the granular, to the quality of life. It's not just about how much money you're making, how much money is your business bringing in. This is not just about how much growth are we experiencing, either personally or professionally or organizationally. Now we're really digging into the nitty-gritty of the granular quality of life here too. So what does this look like for you? What would just take a second to imagine what our society collectively, if we were collectively thriving, what would that look like, right? What would your workplace look like if it was truly thriving based on these different areas and definitions of what thriving can look like? But most importantly, for our purposes today, what would it look like if you individually, if you were thriving, if you had a much higher quality of life, if all these aspects, emotional, psychological, vocational, social, if all of these were truly flourishing, what would that look like for you? This is visioning. Oh, I think my screen stopped sharing. Okay, here we go. Yes, so what would that look like for you? This is what I do with my clients. We dig into what does a vision of your unique life in its most juicy, delicious form, what does that look like? What does it feel like? That's what we start working with. The second goal today is now we get into the teaching. I've developed a 3-step total life expansion method of self-empowerment that I teach all my clients and that you get to walk away with today so that you can start living in accordance with whatever your vision of the life you would love to be living, what that looks like and what that feels like. The 3-step method is designed to be super, super simple, and it's designed to be powerful, and therefore it's very accessible. It's intended to be very accessible because we don't need to make thriving complicated. We don't need to be making success, personal flourishing. We don't need that to be complicated. We need it to be more simple and accessible than ever while still being transformative and powerful. Now, I call it expansion because here we're talking about the expansion of your experience of life, enhancing the quality of your life. These are the concepts that we talk about here. We want to be in the mindset of living expansively, stretching ourselves into the next version of ourselves, because life as we have co-created it up to this point, this is a certain version of us. And there's always going to be the next more expanded, enhanced version of us as well. And honestly, today, if you hop on social media, or if you're working with a helper profession, if you're working with a therapist, a counselor, a coach, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, anyone who's in that realm of profession, there are so many tools and so many exercises that can be used and practiced that the actual individual who's trying to thrive could be completely overwhelmed by being exposed to a new tool or exercise every single week. You just hop on social media, like I said, you'll see, try this, here's 3 steps to this, try my new method here. We start to flood everyone, it's wonderful that they have so many tools, but we want to be really specific with, okay, in this moment, what can I do to change my state so that I can increase my expansion and enhancement of life right now? I don't need to be going through an encyclopedia of all these different tools that I've been learning and that all these people are telling me I should use. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it accessible. Let's keep it within reach, especially when we're in high stress situations. In a nutshell, the total life expansion method is simple, is simply gratitude, vision, and action. Each of these, we're going to go through each of these, and each of these is going to have different tips on how to take it deeper. But even just if you kept it superficial, if this is brand new to you, if you have never scratched the surface of personal growth, personal development, the world of all of that, what you're going to learn today is completely accessible and doable for you as well. Even if you've walked this path for your whole life, and personal development is your jam. It is your thing that you love and you eat and you breathe and you see. There's some people who are so passionate about this stuff. You're still going to walk away with something that you can use in any moment. So let's start with step one. Step one is gratitude. There's some really, really interesting research that's coming out of the University of Berkeley's Expanding Gratitude Project at the Greater Good Science Center. Now, over the past 2 decades, there have been so many statistics to come out that people who are practicing gratitude regularly, they're reporting fewer symptoms of illness, including depression. They're reporting more optimism and happiness, stronger relationships, more generous behavior, and many other benefits. For those of you who are managers and team leaders and employers, can you imagine having the grateful employee, the person who has a practice of gratitude on your team, versus someone who doesn't have access to tools to help them manage difficulty with stress, with illness, with depression, right? This is for the benefit of all. Now, step one is gratitude. In a nutshell, gratitude is simply, what are you grateful for? Right? Very simple, very, high level or superficial question. To take it deeper, and leaving it at the surface will have benefits, but to take it deeper, I encourage you to go into the particulars. There's power in being specific. So yesterday, one of my clients was saying, a very young client of mine was saying, oh, I'm grateful for my family. We take it deeper by asking, what specifically about your family are you really grateful for? And she thought about it for a moment. This whole world of personal development is brand new for her. She said, you know what? I'm really grateful that they're so supportive of me. That micro shift into the particular about what she is grateful for opens something up where she can now feel it in her body. When you are in a state of gratitude, the brain chemistry shifts. You feel expansive in your torso, usually. You feel like, a sense of calmness, a sense of grounding when you really get into the essence of gratitude. Now, in the moment, sometimes people can say, okay, I'm going through something stressful right now. What can I be grateful for? Well, I'm not grateful for my manager. I'm not grateful for all this work I have. I'm not grateful for anything. And they just kind of throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's okay if your gratitudes are unrelated to your situation. So you can have a very stressful meeting that you're really upset with, or a manager that you're just really upset with. I'm grateful that I have, let's say, I'm going to the grocery store later today. I'm so grateful that I have access to a grocery store where I can buy my favorite foods. That has nothing to do with the stressor, right? But that doesn't matter. What matters is that we're generating the experience of gratitude. That's what we're after. When in doubt, reach for gratitude. If you really are at your wit's end, you don't know what's going on, or you feel very stuck, it's always, always, always a game changer when you reach for gratitude. Okay, so that's step one of the total life expansion method. Step one, gratitude. Step two, vision. From a space, a foundation of being in a grateful space, here's where we want to conjure up the vision of life we would love it to look and feel like. Now, this could be a vision of your work life. It could be a vision of your personal life. With my clients, we work on the 360-degree, totally comprehensive life. Who are you personally? Who are you professionally? Who are you in your relationships? Who are you as you're relating to time and money and energy? Who are you in your health and fitness? We cover it all. But for today, I would love for you to choose a place in your life that is just ready to grow, and paint the picture for yourself. Set the ultimate destination, not just a version of life where that area of your life is just marginally better than before. Like, well, at least, I don't have a manager breathing down my back anymore, or at least I have a team that actually wants to do their work. That's really just bottom line, just getting by. What would be best case scenario? If you could have anything you want, that's where we're really leaning into vision. It requires you to get really stretchy, right? Now you can lean into these different aspects of what does it look like to thrive, to flourish, to prosper, the topics we've covered today, the 4 areas that Ariana Huffington covers: physical, emotional, social, and psychological. You can lean into the ACT, 14 different areas of what life looks like to flourish. But ultimately, you just want to ask the question, what kind of life would I love? And what would be even better? By asking that question of what would be even better, you ask the brain and the imagination to open up even more and to stretch just a little bit further of, you know what, I would love to be waking up to the smell of coffee being made downstairs by my loving partner who is preparing this for me to start my day. Okay, what would be even better than that? Maybe it's specifically vanilla coffee, and it's that much more delicious for you. It doesn't have to be a huge tweak. It can just be a marginal 1-degree expansion of what you would love your life to look and feel like. Another tip is to focus on one specific area. Like we said before, life is so complicated. We have many things going on. We have many different areas going on for us in life. Just focus on one to get the vision going. Entry-level visioning, I like to call it daydreaming deliciousness. Just daydream. It doesn't have to be super structured. We have structures when I work with my clients, but we don't have to make it super complicated. Visioning can feel very scary and can feel very difficult for people because we are so used to just planning realistically, to living logically, right? To making decisions that are mitigating worst case scenario. To dream best case scenario can feel really irresponsible sometimes. It can feel really scary. It can feel like you're just living in a very risky way. So if that's how you're feeling, start with daydreaming. There's no risk there. Just send some thoughts into what would life be if it was truly, truly delicious, and lower the risk factors so that your nervous system can adjust to entertaining what could be possible, but from a really safe space, so it's not being overwhelmed. And then when you do vision, I encourage you to speak in past tense. Speak as if it has already happened. I am now a best-selling author internationally. I have now generated $1 million in revenue. We're speaking in past tense because we're normalizing it for our recognition systems. Saying, oh, I've never said this before in my life, or this feels completely out of the ordinary. This feels completely unknown to me. I've talked about it, even if you have just talked about it in your daydreams. So that's step 2 of the total life expansion system. We started with gratitude, then we move into vision, and finally, here's where we move into action. Here's the place where people tend to try to jump in kind of feet first before the other 2 steps, and then they end up spinning their wheels and ending right back at square one, saying, why am I still unfulfilled? Why am I looking for the next job? I thought this job was going to be the answer. Why am I still stuck at square one? It's because I didn't do the foundational work of shifting into gratitude, of painting a vision of the life they would love to be living. Action is where we start to take a look at what I call milestone maps. To get from your life from here to the life you would love to be living, there's a journey that has to be taken to get from point A to point B, right? And so let's look at the milestones that you're going to hit along the way. And we set our actions to align with that first milestone. How am I going to get not from here to here, but how am I going to get from here to here? The first step, the first stop along this road trip, right? This is where we start to set our goals and we put strategies into place. One of my tips is to leave space for all the aligned ideas before you just go barreling into taking action. It's like, here's what I should do. I should call this person. I should write this down. I should go start this. Source all the ideas. Let them come in first, and then be selective with which actions you take. Don't take all the actions. Align your time. Remember the 4 resources we talked about: the time, the money, energy, and attention. Align those precious resources with the activities that really are popping out to you after you've done that sourcing exercise. and then habituate being in alignment with the vision. So now we're making decisions with what we would love instead of what we think is realistic, instead of that lower bar of, well, at least I'm not burning out. At least I'm not completely stressed out now. Okay. So all of that is very, very just a high speed into the world of what I teach and very in depth with my clients. But ultimately, what you can walk away with today is gratitude, vision, action. What am I grateful for? What kind of life would I love? And what can I do in this moment to get me one step closer to that life? The total life expansion method can be used in really big decisions like where do I want to move? Who do I want to attract into a new relationship? What kind of job do I want to be applying for? What kind of employee do I want to be hiring? Or it can be in the micro moments of what do I want to order at this cafe on this menu, right? Very, very simple things. What kind of things would I love to do in terms of the workout today? What would I love to experience in my body, in my health, in my mind, in my relationships today, an everyday basis? So whether this is brand new for you or whether you have walked the road of personal development for years, there's something for you here. This method is simple, it's repeatable, it's so powerful in that it can absolutely shift your trajectory of your day and therefore your life. And it's independent from external things. You don't have to have a different team for this. You don't have to overhaul your company's culture. We don't have to rebuild society from the ground up for this. We don't have to wait until there is no glass ceiling. This is absolutely accessible to you in that you can take action on this right now. Remember, you're one decision away, one gratitude away from your path to thriving instead of just surviving and getting through burnout. Burnout culture is so prevalent everywhere. Let's soar past that. Let's leave it all behind and set our sights on thriving instead. Now, my gift to you is that I would love to offer you a private session where we go deeper into what this looks like for you. I put together a code called WIN it's good for 1 week. We get together for an hour, one-on-one time. We get into what the vision of life looks like for you, where life looks truly delicious. We get to focus on up to 2 areas of your life. You're going to get a mastery lesson in the 3-step method that I just taught you today. You're going to walk away with a personalized 30-day plan of action. So you're not just walking away being like, oh, that feels good. I have a vision of life and I know how to practice gratitude and oh, that's warm and fuzzy. You walk away with an actual plan. And then even after we're done after that hour, you're going to have 2 accountability phone calls with me where we follow up and I answer any questions that have come up to you. We address any sticky points or points of stuckness that you've run into since we've spoken. And we get the ball rolling. We keep that momentum going for you. Okay, so like I said, this is good for just 1 week. You can always sign up, but the discount of 50% is good for just 1 week. I would love to connect with you over social. This is my email. This is my contact information. Feel free to please screenshot this for future reference. And I just want to thank you all for your time and attention. This has felt like a whirlwind for me. There's just so much in this realm. But if you walk away with literally nothing else, gratitude, vision of the life you would love to be living, and ask yourself, what's one thing that I can do, one action I can take to move me one step closer to that vision? Thank you so much. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to take them here. All right, looks like there's no questions. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll leave the screen up in case you want to take a screenshot, in case you want to go ahead and register now while it's still top of mind so you can take advantage of this. These sessions, like I said before, I love to make things fun. So this is something where we can dive into the life you would love to be living and really make it super fun, really make it something that's worthwhile and exciting for you and not a chore. Great. Thank you so much for your time and attention, everyone.
Thank you so much, Robin. So you really gave a very good speech. I appreciate the speech you gave today. So I think we have a question from the audience. So the question is, So, what are the three questions you can use to find out if someone is feeling empowered?
The three questions that you could ask someone else or that you can ask yourself.
So, what are the three questions you can use to find out if someone is feeling empowered?
Ooh, that's a good question. One of the questions let me write this down as well so I can kind of think and type at the same time. Do you feel like you're able to make decisions for your own path in life? Because the empowered person will feel like they have ownership over their direction in life. So, do you feel like you are able to make decisions to affect your own path in life? Do you feel like you have agency over all areas of your life? Some people might feel empowered in the workplace, but they feel disempowered in their personal life, or vice versa. When they leave the office, sometimes they might feel like I can do whatever I want with my time and hang out with whoever I want to and do the things I want to do. But when I'm in the office, I feel like I have no power. And so asking, do you feel like you have agency in all areas of your life can be helpful to tease that out. And then finally, whether someone is empowered or not. Do you feel like you truly can live any kind of life you want? Now, that can feel like kind of a loaded question because some people would say, like, well, I'd love to be an astronaut, but I didn't go to train. I didn't learn astronomy and I haven't trained to be an engineer. And no, I don't think I can be an astronaut. But what we're looking for here is saying, we're looking to see if they feel like they have the ability to try. Do they have the ability to see a path for at least the next step where they can make progress in that area? So I hope that's helpful for the person who asked the question. Thank you.
Yes, Robin. Yes, Robin. Thank you so much for the informative speech today. So, as you know, this is a hybrid event. If you want to share your thoughts or comments to the physical event, which is going live in Paris, France, so you can join the Zoom link. So you can give your thoughts on this as well. Thank you so much for your continuous support and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.